Your data is like gold to hackers, and they'll sell it to the highest bidder. Are you protected? McAfee helps shield you, blocking suspicious texts, malicious emails, and fraudulent websites. McAfee Secure VPN lets you browse safely, and its AI-powered text scam detector spots threats instantly. You'll also get up to $2 million of award-winning antivirus and identity theft protection, all for just $39.99 for your first year. Visit McAfee.com. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
A science story, huh?
These NYU scientists,
I felt
right.
I was so
And I just thought, well,
I had figured it out.
it was that golden moment.
Because science was on my side.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Story Clutter, where true personal stories about science help us to discover how weird and wonderful it is to exist in this world and be a human. I'm your host, Misha Gajewski, and today's episode is all about family and how they shape who we are as people. While nature definitely plays a part in everyone's development, it's hard to deny that nurture from our families is one of the biggest factors in shaping who we are, whether we like it or not. And our first storyteller, Mark Pagan, very much did not like it. Mark is an award-winning producer, writer, and editor for nonfiction podcasts and film. You might also recognize him as host of the critically acclaimed show, Other Men Need Help. His story was recorded at QED Astoria in Queens last year, and my favorite thing about Mark's story is that it really shows you that even though sometimes you don't get the parent you want, if you're lucky, you get the parent you need. I hope you love this story as much as I do. Here's Mark.
Sometime over the last year, I don't know when it happened, but I got designated the one that walks the dog every morning. And so the dog's name is Soca. And Soca and I have carved out a path in Brooklyn where we live, where we do this walk every day. We go down the street, and there's a lot of garages there, a lot of gearheads. And so these cool cars that are there, and there's one car that's always stationed in the same place. And I don't know the model, but it's a late 60s two-door sports car. Just imagine like a very cool Porsche from that era. And the same thing happens every day. Soka and I will walk by, and a new guy every day will stop, look at the car, and take out his phone to take a picture and then put it away. And I notice it because I do the same thing too. And I'm not even that much of a car guy, but I am a stick shift guy. And there's something, I don't know, when I was an adolescent, something energized in me about the idea of stick shift. It could have been getaway scenes in spy movies or older brothers driving us around. And it was the combination of male stoicism and strong forearms that I just found very attractive. And all I wanted to be at that age was cool and hot. And I felt anything but cool and hot. I was moving into high school. I felt like I was a short, ethnic, hairy kid being raised by a short, ethnic, hairy father. And the thing that made me feel even more like an outlier is that my dad was old. I had the old dad at school. And I don't know if anybody here has grown up with an old dad, but I minored in sociology to figure out what the hell went wrong growing up. And sociologists, they've done a lot of work researchers have looked at, the effects of having an older parent. And some sociologists will say, no big social effects or anything like that. And there's a whole group that said, oh yeah, this fucks a kid up a little bit. Because, especially a parent having a child over the age of 45, and my dad was significantly older than that, can have a lot of effects socially. So if I would have heard those studies when I was of that age, I would have said, oh yeah, the latter finding, I'm messed up because of this. But I loved my dad. He was a great guy. And, I was like, all right, I'm moving into high school. I at least have like a mooring of masculinity and a servant to help me drive, or help me learn how to drive. Well, sadly, before I started high school, my dad unexpectedly passed away. And I was going into my freshman year I wasn't sure how I was going to do this without the guidance of my father. And the first week of high school, I remember I decided to shave for the first time. And I remember looking in the mirror going, how the hell do I do this, Dad? And so it was tough, but there's family support. And what I'm about to say might sound a little weird, but I found a silver lining to all of this and thought, you know what? I'm starting high school. A lot of kids don't know me here, so I can put together a new identity. I just need sort of like a model to help me do that. I need a role model. And I figured my mom's going to start dating. That's probably going to happen. And maybe if I coach her in the right way, we can bring in a cool dad. And my conditions were they started pretty simply, like have him wear jeans, you know? And then it got, maybe they should be ripped a little bit. Maybe he's an occasional smoker. I don't want to be like a terrible dad, I want him to like, pick me up and maybe help me with my homework. But also when I'm done with my homework, be like, hop in, kid. Let me show you how to rob a racetrack. So that'd be pretty cool. I could work with that. So my mom did start dating, and she eventually brought her boyfriend home. Now, at the time, during this freshman year of my life, I was 14. My mom was 45. And this man named Lauren was 70. This was not the age range that I had ordered. And he started being there at night. Then he was there in the morning, and then he got tasked with driving me to school in his Jurassic era Buick. And I'd be pulling in with like the oldest person alive. And, my peers, they had age appropriate parents who would do things like take them to basketball games and do wrestling with them. And how was I going to compete? I'm like, oh, hey guys, you know how we're learning about President Truman in history class? Well, my mom's boyfriend voted for him. Right? Like I wanted him gone. You would too. But my mom was falling in love with him, and he adored my mom, and it was so gross. And on top of that, my mom, she's a single mom. She was working all the time. Lauren was retired. My mom's like, oh, it'd be a great idea if Lauren taught you how to drive. And I said, oh, God, I don't want to deal with this. But I needed to learn how to drive. And I really, really, really wanted to learn how to drive a stick shift. And there was one car that had a stick shift, and it was Lauren's 1985 Mazda RX-7. And so we started to take this car out. We would do exit on-ramps and off-ramps on 270 in Maryland from the DC area. And, I'd stall, but then I'd get better at it. And Lauren, I'm sure some of you have either been the driver or have parented somebody driving. It can be very stressful. He never, ever raised his voice. Very calm about the whole thing. And when a driving day went especially well, he'd guide me to go down 355 to the parking lot of heaven, which was Popeyes. And we would sit and we would eat. And I don't remember what we would talk about, because what is there to talk about when you have fried chicken and Cajun fries? But I thought at the time, I was like, this is all right. This is okay. Like Lauren is okay. And I thought, you know what? This will be a nice memory when my mom breaks up with him. And so sometime around my 16th birthday, I came home. My mom was waiting for me in the dining room, and she had this look on her face. And she said, I want to talk to you about something. And I said, what's going on? And she said, well, Lauren asked me to marry him, and I said yes. And I didn't know how much I missed my father until my mom proclaimed her love for another man. And I had a lot of things that were going against me on top of that. Those same sociologists that I talked about earlier, a lot of them talk about this idea of like, with blended families, there's often other children coming into the home, which does a little bit of diluting of like the stepfather, stepchild energy. Everybody was out of the house. I was going to be in that home alone. The second thing is that quite often in those blended families or new marriages, maybe there's another kid that's born. Lauren's sperm was very old. And my mom was not going to have any more kids. So that meant that Lauren and I was going to be the child, and Lauren was going to be the stepfather. And according to studies, we were going to bond, which I said, hell no, that ain't going to happen. And we had to do all this stuff. We had to move into his house. We had to move into his neighborhood. We had to cater our lives to his schedule and stuff like that. And I was getting so pissed off. And I did get my license, and I did what any teenager did with a license. I just drove around. I was like, I'm going to leave the house. And so one day I took the RX-7 and I met up with some friends, and we went over to we parked our cars and went to some gazebo and got really high. And I came back to the car, and for some reason, I couldn't open the door. I don't probably in a better headspace, I would have been able to do it. I don't know what was going on. But I stopped and I looked at the car, and just all this animosity bubbled up in me. And I was like, this isn't the life I wanted, man. I didn't ask for a dead dad, and I didn't ask for a father figure that voted for presidents I'm learning about in history class. I don't want this. And so I lifted my leg and I kicked the door in. And I didn't think I was going to kick it that hard, but I kicked it enough that it hit, made a major dent. Even my friends were like, damn, dude. And I said, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It'll fix itself. And I honestly thought that it would. I don't know, I've seen too many Transformers or something. I thought the dent maybe just overnight, just go whoop, whoop. Something like that. And so that's the reason that when I drove home and went to bed, I went to bed with ease. And at 7 a.m. the next morning, Lauren is hovered over me, and he says, Mark, can you come downstairs? I want to show you something. And so we go downstairs, we go into the garage, and there's Lauren in his flannel pajamas and moccasin slippers. And we're sitting there, and my eyes are looking everywhere except the car door. And Lauren he points to the car door and he says, what the fuck is that? Now, as I mentioned, in the car rides, Lauren never raised his voice to us at all. The worst thing we ever heard him say was the word preposterous with a lot of emphasis. And so this F-bomb totally floored me. And I don't think it wasn't him saying that was in slow motion. It was my reaction that felt like it was in slow motion. And by that point, my mom was in the garage with us. And I remember just moving over to my mom and just mouthing the words, help me, Mom. And my mom gave me this look you're on your own, dude. And so I just started I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. And Lauren shushed me and he said, go to the bathroom and get the plunger. And I was like, what sort of weird greatest generation punishment is this? But I went and did as I was told, and I gave him the plunger. And he took the plunger, and this 70-blank-year-old man got on his knees and started expunging, for lack of a better word, this dent. And he got 97% of it out. It was really miraculous. And so he finished, and the three of us are standing there, and I'm probably like Charlie Brown, head down. I just was feeling so shameful and couldn't even look at him. And Lauren just was looking at the car door, looking at me, looking at the car door, looking at me. And then he said, do you want to go to Popeyes? And I said, yes, I do. Now, denting your parents' car as a teenager, some people may say that's slightly rebellious, slightly badass. But eating fried chicken at 8:30 a.m. is fucking gangster. It'd be very, very easy for me to stand up here and say, ta-da, that was great. Everything. No, I was a teenager. I still continued to make life hell for him and for my mother. And part of that, I think, is the you're not my dad energy that's inherent with any step parent. But as a man now, and in hindsight, I can say that I was honestly starting to care for him. And that there was a part of me that was thinking, you are of an age that you might not be around that much longer into my adulthood. Now, those same scientists, researchers, sociologists that I mentioned, and this should be very evident to all of us, is that the longer a child is with a step parent, the deeper the bonds can become. And that, I can say, is true. Lauren was there for high school. He was there and miraculously helped me move into my first apartment. When I had to move back home in my late 20s, he was there to pick me up at the metro after work or whatever I was doing. Cut to the age of 96, when he got his vaccine shot, found out I was going to be proposing to my girlfriend, and told my mom, get me to New York. I'm not going to miss this. Lauren was there for nearly 30 years of my life. And if you had told me that at 14, I would have lost my mind. But as an adult, now I can say I needed. At the age of 97, just a few weeks shy of his 98th birthday, he passed away peacefully. And I think about those walks I do with Soca and these cars I take pictures of. And like, am I still trying to chase something cool here? Or is it more a coded scroll, like men like myself will do sometimes, a form of communication, taking a picture of a car with a stick shift or making vroom vroom sounds, when what we're doing is thinking of the person we used to do that with and really saying, I miss you. Thanks.
That was Mark. To find out more about him, visit our website, storyclatter.org. Being a storyteller on stage is just one way to make Storyclatter happen, but if sharing your story in front of an audience isn't your jam, maybe becoming a Storyclatter donor is more up your alley. Right now, the voices of scientists and science communicators need to be heard more than ever. At Storyclatter, we believe that personal stories can cut through the noise, connecting people to the human side of science, building trust, and making complex issues real. But we can't do this work without you. Storyclatter donors play an essential role in our ability to bring you this podcast, share these stories, and foster conversations that matter. If you believe in the power of science storytelling, please donate to the Storyclatter at storyclatter.org/donate. The most popular level is $10 a month, and you can make your tax-deductible donation at storyclatter.org/donate. But really, any level makes a difference, and we're so grateful to everyone who supports Storyclatter.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Oh, sheet.
Honey, chill. It's just laundry.
Not that. I'm talking about these Arm & Hammer Power Sheets. All the power of Arm & Hammer laundry detergent in a convenient tossable sheet.
Oh, sheet.
That's what I'm saying.
And Arm & Hammer Power Sheets deliver an effective clean at a great price. Think of all the laundry we'll do.
And all the money we'll save. Oh, sheet.
Arm & Hammer, more power to you.
Our next story is from actor, author, podcaster, and storyteller Christopher Rivas. His story was recorded in Los Angeles at the Crawford Family Forum, and it's such a beautiful story about family history and identity. Also, I love how just one simple question sets off this entire story. As someone who frequently ends up 4 hours deep in a YouTube spiral, I can relate. Anyway, here's Chris.
All the time, more times than I can count, people love to come up to me and tell me, I just did my ancestry. Have you done yours? What's in your blood? This is usually followed by I'm a 10th Middle Eastern or 14% Sub-Saharan, or there's actually a little bit of Africa in me, to which I respond, the whole continent? One time after this writing workshop I was teaching, a woman came up to me and she said, oh my gosh, I resonate with that so much, and it confirms that I want to make a career change and become a life coach because we need more life coaches. She didn't say that part. And she said this was true because she just got her ancestry done, and she said, and I quote, I know there's a little bit of South Asian in me, and that resonates with me. I feel that part deeply in my soul. Personally, I have not done my ancestry. I have not traced my saliva to figure out my specific genome and chromosomes that make me as nervous and anxious as I am. Very. Partially because I do not feel completely comfortable with giving my DNA to a private company, as if they don't have it. You know, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. Also, is it really as simple as saying, I am Dominican and Colombian? What does it really mean to ask and live the question, what is in my blood? What do my ancestors have to teach me, to share with me? What wisdoms, what knowings, what unknowings, what truths, what fears? What is in my blood? God, this question, it started to itch at me. And part of the problem is I don't actually even know my family. Like, nobody in my family ever talked about it. I never got the proverbial, like, oh, your dad was like, your grandpa was like a championship Dominican knitter. None of that. And so I called my cousin Edwin. Edwin is the only person who ever really talked about our family. And I said, yo, Ed, how come no one talks about our family? No one talks about the DR, not dad, not abuelita. And he said, oh, it's because they're probably embarrassed. Embarrassed of what? And that's when Ed proceeded to tell me about my great-grandfather, Juan Alba, who was the founder of a town in the Dominican Republic called La Caleta. Yo, finding a town is kind of pretty dope. Why would you be embarrassed? He said, it's not that simple. And he proceeded to tell me that Juan Alba was a cousin-in-law to Rafael Trujillo. Now, for those of you who do not know, Rafael Trujillo was the bloodiest dictator in Latin American history. I mean, this man with Haitian descent, Haitian blood himself, someone who baby powdered his face multiple times a day to move himself closer to whiteness, committed the overnight genocide and the racially motivated massacre of 20 to 30,000 Haitians in one day. Talk about hating your blood. I got off the phone with Edwin and I thought, oh God, is this how everyone feels when they get their 23andMe results back? Grimy. On one hand, it's like super nasty that I'm related to Trujillo in this way. Not by blood, but it's still like a weird part of my family tree. On the other hand, you know, it's kind of a joke that like the DR is a small island, so everyone is related in one way or another. Anyway, I'd gone down the rabbit hole, and so the next obvious step was to assault my father. So on my next trip home, I took my dad to lunch and I just bombarded him with questions. I said, why didn't you tell me about this? Are you ashamed? What are you embarrassed of? What else are you keeping from me? Hey, is this why you never took me to the Dominican Republic or why you never wanted me to learn Spanish? Is this why abuelita told me to sleep with a clothespin pinched to my nose like they do it back in the campo, you know, to help keep it thin? Or why every day I still do this in the shower? Are you looking for an apology, my dad said? Because I'm not going to apologize to you. Oof, my dad. For those of you who don't know, my dad is like the Dominican Samuel L. Jackson. The Pulp Fiction one. He's got mad wisdom, but like wisdom with a hammer. He also has like resting get out of my face. Pops, I'm not looking for an apology. I just feel like I never, got any ancestral wisdom, any history. No, but I fed you. I kept you alive. I loved you. How's that for wisdom? Touché. I'm not going to apologize to you, Chris. Look at your life. You live a good life, right? Yeah, Pops, I live a good life. Okay, good. And so you want to know more about your history? You want to speak Spanish? Bien, perfecto. Estamos aquí, hablamos juntos. But don't come at me like that. History or no history, we did the best we could, and we think we did a damn good job. Yeah, Pops, you did a good job. And so we had a very awkward lunch in silence, and I let him have this one for now. And then a couple years later, I somehow create the opportunity to fly myself to the Dominican Republic for the first time for a piece that I'm making. It's a piece about my life and history and what's in my blood. And most importantly, I have enough cash to take someone with me. So I call my Pops. Yo, Pops, let's go. He says, nah, I'm busy. I got work. I said, the trip's on a weekend. You don't work on a weekend. I don't want to get in the way. Hey, yo, Pops, you are the way. Come on. There's no other person I should be here with. There's no other person I should go with. Let's go. And when I land in the DR, y'all, let me tell you, I feel this peace wash over me. You know, like I'm not pretending or code switching. I'm just in a sea amongst myself, and it feels right. I'm like resting in my own skin. And my dad, on the other hand, I mean, he's like full Dominican at the rental car place. Yo, he's like, tigre this and que lo que that. Yo, I see this little boy in him, and it is beautiful. He is ecstatic. He also does not have to pretend here. He doesn't have to prioritize and decide what language do I give my kids for the best life possible. My dad, he's starting to get really nervous because we have a lot of families we're supposed to see here. The first person on the list is my dad's uncle Peto. He lives in La Caleta, the town my great-grandfather founded. And he doesn't have a phone number, and we don't have an address, and my dad hasn't been to the DR in 30 years, so who knows? We get some salchichon and aguacate, and we get on the road. And as we're driving, my dad says, I think a while back, Beto sold some of the land to the Mormon church. And I swear to you, I swear to whatever you believe in, that as he's saying this, 2 Mormon kids are crossing the street, like white shirt, ties, the whole thing. Let's just say they stick out, because on one side of the street, it's like Dominicans, merengue, dominoes, and then it's like 2 white Mormon kids. My dad, he basically jumps out of the car and he goes, hey, where's your house? These missionaries are terrified, y'all. Our house? Yeah, house. You got a house, right? Our church? Yeah, your church. Where's your church? That way. And that way we head. And the closer and closer we get, my dad's memories, they start to solidify. And he says, oh, we're close. And then boom, I hear him say, that's it. That's my uncle. That's my uncle. He's just whispering, that's my uncle. I still get chills. That's my uncle. And off in the distance is this old man. And yo, he's pretty fly, y'all. He's like got sunglasses on. He's sitting outside. He's surrounded by 3 dogs, and he's got mad swagger. He kind of reminds me of myself. And my pops. And my dad, he starts walking towards him, and he says, that's my uncle. And his uncle Beto, he says, Guillermito. That's my father's nickname as a kid. And now they're both crying. I'm crying. The entire neighborhood is crying. The 2 Mormon kids are crying. My dad, he's not like an emotional person, you know, especially not outwardly. I didn't expect him to cry, not like this, but I guess that's what the things in our blood do. They reveal to us who we are. That was a crazy time for me and my pops. You know, I saw sides of him I'd never seen before. I met family that I didn't even know he had. He has a sister. I didn't know he had a sister. And one day at lunch, my dad, he starts to cry again. God, he cried more in this weekend than I'd seen him cry in 35 years of knowing him. And he starts to tell me about his mom. He starts to tell me about my mom's mom and how they came to this country, and they struggled and they hustled and how hard it was. He said, I didn't want you to have that. I wanted things to be different for you. We just did the best we can. I didn't keep anything from you on purpose. I was just trying to give you a better life than what we had. You did, Pops. You did. You see, my father, he didn't keep anything from me on purpose or because he was ashamed of his Latinidad. He did what so many brown Americans are forced to do in this country: assimilate, adapt. It's actually pretty universal for any outsider, the hope of possibility for their children. And I am not less because what I do not know about my blood or my history or my ancestors, because regardless of what is in your blood, your genomes and your chromosomes, you still have work to do when it comes to opening your heart, showing up, and meeting yourself day by day. Thank you.
That was Chris. If you'd like to learn more about him, visit our website, storyclatter.org. Our website is just one way to connect with Storyclatter, but there are so many other ways, and we hope you'll use them all. You can always follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Head to storyclatter.org to become a financial supporter, or if you want to come to one of our shows, start your own Storyclatter show in your community, or even learn how to tell your own science story, you can learn all about that on our website too. This podcast is produced by me, Misha Gajewski, along with Jen Chen, Nikisha Roberts-Washington, and Aaron Barker, Executive Director and co-founder of The Storyclatter. The stories featured in today's episode were produced by Tracy Segarra, Grant Bowen, and Brian Kett. Special thanks goes out to the Story Clatters board and team. Our theme music is by Ghost, and next week, I'll be back with stories about religious crossroads. You won't want to miss these tales. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.